Hello folks, this is Richard Moore with USAGSA. That's short for United States Anti-Gang Stalking Association. We want to talk a little bit about documenting and stating your case for what's going on with you. When I say gang stalking, I kind of shy away from that. For many people, they have no idea what gang stalking is. Many victims, they're victimized by this. They know they're being victimized. They know there's a lot of things going on in their life that's unexplainable, that's off key, if you will, but they don't realize that there's a name for it. And then some eventually find out. They'll get on social media, and there's a plethora of groups on social media. Some of them are good groups. You can get good information that will help a victim. But by far, there are more groups that are chock full of perpetrators, people that perpetrate these crimes and drive the narrative in this targeted individual community. A lot of victims will get in these groups, and they'll start looking at videos and stuff with junk science or bogus scenarios of what's going on, and they, for some reason or other, they choose to believe that and they run with it. And then the next step, they'll start in on other victims that are genuinely seeking help, trying to figure out what to do, how to do it, and what's going on, and so forth. And they will start feeding information and targeting the victims. These are victims that have turned. They're driving. They're living on a false narrative, and this is what I call perping by proxy or stalking by proxy. As long as I've been doing this, I can't count the people that I've ran across that they're stalking by proxy. They're the first ones to jump up and say, well, this is what's going on. And I've never, to my knowledge, posted a statement or made a video or a comment asking anybody what was going on. Somebody tell me. However, I still get people that want to put that, not as much as I used to. Most of these groups and so forth that they're driving this agenda have left me alone, in which I'm proud of that. And the stalking as a whole they've changed the way they stalk and the way they target me, and I'm sure that many victims out there see that as well. I also have heard of victims say, well, I was gang stalked and this was going on for 2 or 3 years. They don't do it anymore. And I just, good for you. I can't fathom to imagine this happening, other than it makes me wonder about that individual. Are they now stalking by proxy? Or are they full-fledged stalking? Because once you're entered into this program, it's like the Hotel California. You can check in, but you can't check out. It's not finished until the victim is annihilated. Now, this is a slow torture process. This is designed to, over a long period of time, to annihilate the victim. Now, there's several schools of thought of how you get on the list, and that's there's probably a million different ways you can get on a list. Mind you that this usually happens on a community based policing. That's where it starts. Neighborhood Watch is a cops program, FBI InfraGard. These boots on the ground, these people that are in the communities that, for whatever reason, maybe it's class envy, or maybe you reported a drug dealer. And I know many people that have reported this, and their lives have been miserable ever since. And law enforcement behind it. This program is ran by law enforcement, the Department of Justice, and the Department of Homeland Security fusion centers, to name a couple. Now, this is called the holistic approach to policing, which means everybody does their part. Whether it be Walmart, the mail carrier, your landlord, the utility company, or friends and neighbors, especially people that live around you. They will rent houses, and they will put these people up, and their sole purpose, they don't work, their sole purpose is to keep tabs on the victim. Now, this costs a lot of money, and this takes a lot of manpower and a lot of organization to pull this off. And this is happening to millions of Americans. And there's nowhere for them to go. There's no process in which an American citizen that's targeted can challenge this. But I do have some good ideas on how you can challenge it personally without relying on the government agencies and law enforcement to do what they're paid to do, because they're not going to do anything. And many of you already know this. You've made reports and you've been dismissed as being mentally unstable, and you get gaslighted, maybe incarcerated. And I know on a first-hand basis how real that is. If you watch my last video, then that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. I believe in what I'm fighting for and what I stand for 100%. And I'm not going to back down or shut up or slip under some rock somewhere and vanish. If for some reason you don't see me, then you must know that it's because other people are making it impossible. That's because they've got me locked up somewhere. It's not because they've scared me or I'm in fear of my life or what have you. The object of this program is to annihilate the victim. And that means to reduce the victim from something to absolutely nothing. It begins with isolation. Your friends and family, they ghost you. All of a sudden, people are not having anything to do with you. They force you into unemployment, homelessness. They attack every facet of your life to where you're defenseless. Once they isolate you and you're not around a support mechanism, then they will insert people into your support mechanism. They're not your friends. Many of them will be just, they're wolves in sheep's clothing. When you try to explain to them what's going on, they dismiss it as maybe you need some help or you're paranoid or something like that. There's too many people, millions of Americans, that are being targeted daily, destroyed. Now, this is not something I read. This is not something I picked up from some support group or some group on Facebook or what have you, or a video I watched. What I know is what I know on a first-hand basis, what I've documented. And that's what I do every day. I spend time documenting and researching on my own. I'm not get in the ear of other people telling me what's going on. I can tell you what's going on because that's what I'm focused on. I'm not focused on all the junk science and stuff that's out there, and there's a lot of junk that's out there. So I want to caution you with that. And I face and try to give you the bottom line on the bricks and mortar of this program. And I try to stay out of the Area 51 part of the program. Even though the technology is a big part of what they do. I did a short little clip of some weaponized drones. I've done tons on the drones. And using the proper adjustment on my camera, it picks up the flickering, the infrared lights, and so forth. I explain what that is, what it does. The hallucinations, the delusions, and the physical harm that's causing to individuals that are targeted. And these drones are relentless. And they hang out there for 8-10 hours. Now, these are military-grade drones. These are not hobbyist drones. This is not something you can go to Best Buy and purchase. Those things have a very limited life that they can stay up in the air like that. These things hang out there, and so once you're dialed in and you've got things going on, you're hearing things, you think somebody's in your house, they project these sounds. All these things are done, and these drones are the biggest culprit. So I can't emphasize that enough. So it's no touch torture unless you focus on what these drones are doing and take and use protection in your house for this. Then you'll be running down rabbit holes for the rest of your life trying to figure out how they're doing it or why they're doing it. Once you document these, ladies and gentlemen, you video them. You get the timestamp, the day and time, and so forth. Armed with that, just a few videos. It doesn't take much. Then you file a formal complaint with FAA. Insist they investigate. They're the only ones that can investigate. Local law enforcement, the FBI is not going to do anything. I've called them 1,000 times. And trust me, they tell you to call local law enforcement. And local law enforcement, they don't have a Jetson mobile. They can fly up there and pull these things over, and they're oblivious. So they're having a field day with this because that's kind of a gray area. There's nobody to call. Who's going to police this? Well, the FAA, they're tasked with that, but they're severely understaffed. All the people that they need are working at the fusion centers and the NSA and these other agencies, but not where they need to be. And since the FAA do an investigation, now you may look up and they come out, and they will come out and document these things and try to figure out who it is. Now, they can't be within 2,000 feet, but these things are further. That some of them get close. I've had them hover right over my house, but mostly they'll be a lot further than 2,000 feet. So they could be looking at anybody. So that's the slippery slope. That's why you have to continue to document. Use your night vision mode on your camera or professional mode. It's going to show the lights flickering and so forth. Also footage from if you have security cameras and you get all these weird things happening with that, it does interfere with your Wi-Fi, and that's your explanation for that, by the way. Now, this is even if you're not seeing color coordinated cars harassing you and street theater and all the other childish, moronic, pathetic things they do. Directed conversations. You can go into a business and they'll be talking loud about you, about things that you've been talking about that day, or things that have happened to you, and you hear it. This is all theater. They're all bad actors, and so somebody hold on to your seats here. A lot of these people on the community level believe that they are doing things for the betterment of the community. Many of them believe they're doing God's work. They go to fake churches and worship a fake God and hold a Bible they don't believe, and they do these things to make themselves feel good. But I can tell you there's not a godly person amongst them. God does not condone the torture and harassment, the gossip and slander, and this constant drumbeat of destruction. He doesn't tolerate. There's no place in Christianity, as far as that goes. I don't know about the other religions, but there's no place in Christianity of those that call themselves God-fearing people to harass and torture other people. I lived at the address that I recently moved from 7 years. In 7 years, not one time, small rural community. I grew up in a small town. I know how it is. When somebody new would move in, people, you had a welcome wagon. You had the neighbors would introduce themselves. They'd cook food for you and invite you to church, so forth and so on. I've never experienced any of that. Not one time did I ever get invited to a church or anything like that. I only met 1 or 2 people in 7 years. Although those that lived around me constantly were stalking, lurking, all hours of the night, and involved in this. And I've got tons and tons and tons of documentation of this. It's not something that I imagined. It's a specific group of people. It's not everybody. They want you to think the whole world is against you or involved in it. And they try to create this, and you'll develop a psychosis thinking that the whole world's out to get. They're not. But they've got you engulfed in a bubble, in a shell, if you will. And so the world that you exist in, it appears many times that everybody's in on it. I've had many people say, well, I believe that my girlfriend or my spouse is in on it. Is that possible? Yes, it's possible. It's also possible that you're not. The art of this, for them to win, is for you to be confused, is to keep you thinking that it's happening over there when actually it's happening over here. So I caution you with that. If you think that a friend or a family member is involved in this, then do due diligence. Don't give them all the leeway in the world either. You've got to protect yourself. It can destroy you if you don't. Stop trying to vet your evidence and your problems with other people that are in this shell with you. You'll quickly be dismissed. That's not evidence. That doesn't prove anything. You just whatever. Or they don't want to hear it at all. I want to hear it. I'm telling you to document it. Let me hear from it. Be happy to tell your story. I'll be happy to do everything I can to help you. We've got too many people out there with unexplained deaths, where a child or a family member has been killed. It's been written up as one thing, and they know it's something else. Somehow, law enforcement hadn't done anything, or they've covered it up, and the family has to live with this for the rest of their lives. I expose these things. I expose corruption. This stalking, community-based policing, is the nature of the beast. It's criminal. These people are evil. They're pathetic morons. And they are against everything the fabric of this country stands for. Unless you stand up for yourself and start taking names and notes, you're not going to get anywhere. Now, once the FAA comes out and they do their job or not, and if they don't give you the information, you can file a Freedom of Information Act request and get that. And sometimes those come back blank. I'm speaking from experience. Once you ascertain who it is, and even if the FAA won't do their job, that would have a civil rights violation. If they're with a government agency or law enforcement, they're not doing their job, then you can take them to task in federal court. So that's kind of a synopsis of your rough plan of action. That's what you do. But you're going to have to do the footwork yourself. Don't expect someone else to do it for you. You can either spend most of your time worrying or dismissing this and being hopeless and giving up. Many have. I interviewed an elderly couple in Oklahoma, Mississippi a few years back. In less than a week's time, it turned into what it was pegged as a murder-suicide. And they begged me to contact the FBI and have them interview them, because what was happening to them was the same thing happening to me. They were being harassed and stalked, including the drones. And I did. I reached out to the FBI. I did all those things. It all fell on deaf ears. They're both dead now. I'm still keeping my promise. I promised the lady that no matter what, I would make sure that the right people knew what was going on. And that's my commitment. As long as I'm breathing, I'm going to keep beating this drum beat of freedom. Of those, there's too many people out there that have lost everything. They have given up. Many are on the edge. Many have contemplated suicide. Many have committed suicide. And this is what the program is designed to do, is to look as if this is how they kill them, death at their own demise, at their own hands. That's how it works. They want you to self-implode. They're not going to take a gun and blow your brains out. They're not going to kick your door in and kill you. They're going to make you think that. They're going to break into your house. I don't know how many times I've had that. My vehicle's sabotaged. I've ruined several vehicles. I've traveled from coast to coast documenting this, ladies and gentlemen, and have been harassed. A caravan of idiots from Mississippi to California and back more than once. It's real. And it's a relay. They'll relay it from one city to the next, one state to the next. That's interstate stalking, and that is a federal crime. However, the feds are not doing anything about it. Well, after a while, I figured out, ladies, if they're not doing anything about it, then they're involved in it. It's simple, but it's not rocket science. If they weren't involved in it, they'd be gung-ho supporting and upholding the laws. But they're not. They don't want to hear it because they're the ones involved in running the program. This thing really grew during the Obama administration. It's called Obama's Army. And you wonder, after COVID, all these businesses that have gone out of business, and now you got Walmart, they're not open 24 hours a day anymore. I still can't figure out why. And you got help wanted signs everywhere. They said we got jobs, but we can't get people to work. And I know that many people didn't die during COVID, and they're not getting stimulus checks anymore. So what are they doing for money? Well, I just told you what they're doing for money. They're on the government payroll. And these frontline rats and dope addicts and deplorables that they use for the street theater and to commit the crimes and stuff, they're expendable. They use them up and they throw them away. They'll either end up putting them in a fake Christian rehab or send them to the penitentiary. But whatever it is, they're disposable. There'll never be a time we'll allow one of these individuals to reconcile one of their victims. God forbid a victim and a criminal ever reconciles and they start sharing their involvement. The old adage is loose lips sink ships. They're not going to allow that to happen. And they'll target them, without they do that. And they target their families. They will destroy everything they've got. There's not an attorney on this planet, especially in the United States, that's not well aware of this program. So if you're trying to get an attorney to help you, and they won't, they don't want to be destroyed, ladies and gentlemen. It's well known what's going on. This is not a secret. Again, the COPS program and the FBI InfraGard, those are the two elephants in the room. And they enlist other organizations to help them carry out these crimes, all for the sake of protecting the homeland. From the Mormon Church to the Masonic Lodge to Satanists, they come in all shapes and colors. The bottom line, it's all evil, it's real, and I encourage you to document, follow me, subscribe, share. My email is posted in the comments. Also, links to how you can support. I'm 100% supported by my listeners and followers. Your support means it makes a difference whether I'm here or not doing what I'm doing. I don't get paid to do what I do. I do this because I have no choice. And I find it imperative that I spread my knowledge and encourage other victims out there and help them get on the right path with this. But you can email me at USAGSA@duck.com, and I have that in the comments. And I have my other support information and so forth. Until then, God bless you. Let me hear from you.